Dave was available. So he's like, come on, buddy, we got to go do this. You ready? And I bought him a G-string. And I was like, okay, let's
That's the perfect
take it
present.
off. Let's get working here.
Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watch Our Past. Today I'm joined by Deborah Twiss, the writer, director, producer, and star of Sapiosexual, which comes to digital on May 16, 2023. I'm going to talk to her right now, and while you're watching, if you can like and subscribe to this channel, that would be fantastic. I'll smell a lot. Thank you. Thanks so much for joining me. This is Deborah Twiss, the writer, director, producer, and star of Sapiosexual, which comes to digital on May 16, 2023. It is a psychological thriller that deals with attraction and some of the, I guess, consequences of that attraction. It is a wonderful indie film, and I'm so excited to talk to you. So thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, of course. So I guess, the first question is, you wore a lot of hats. I guess we'll start with the kind of writer side. What was the inspiration for this film? What made you kind of want to write this story down?
My best friend from college wrote this really cool little erotic short story that was about 3 or 4 pages long, about 3 people gathered for a weekend in a beach house. And when she showed it to me and she said, if you ever want to make this into a short, you're more than welcome. And I thought, wow, this could be really a beautiful, no dialogue kind of short done in black and white. And then I started to think, yeah, but it takes so much effort to make a short. I've never actually successfully made a short. I always end up making a feature instead, because once you start putting something together, you may as well just go all out.
Mm-hmm.
So I added all these other elements of what the backstories were for the characters, the beginning, and then the whole thing at the end, the flip.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's how it was born. And also I had known several narcissists in my life.
Wait,
So
what? In Hollywood, you know narcissists? That's so
and
weird.
some of them were not even from Hollywood. They're just everywhere. It's like the world is just, chock full of them. And I'd done a lot of research regarding that. And I thought, okay, this is the right script to really dive into that and use some of the things that I've heard and witnessed. And so I did.
So when were you fleshing this out? Was this like something that happened during COVID when you wanted to try something, or have you been thinking about this story for a while and then it just kind of like the right moment to make the film presented itself and you kind of jumped on that?
Yeah, I guess it was in 2019 that I read the short.
Okay.
And, I started getting the idea to make it into just a short film, but then started expanding in my mind. And then I met a couple crazy people during COVID. And the dancing scene is actually something taken directly out of a situation that I found myself in. And I was just blown away.
Oh, weird.
And I thought, well, Deb, hold on to this, because this is like creative fodder. So that is almost verbatim what I experienced, which was crazy. And it's funny because a couple of friends that have seen the cut said, isn't that night? And I said, yeah, that's that night. So, but yeah, I think it was in December of 2021 that Richard Wolf from Breaking Glass got in touch with me. I'd been going through a really crazy time because I had been on a film that failed. We'd gone to New Mexico to shoot this film that I'd written, and I was one of the producers on it, and I was acting in it. And we were at this hotel in Albuquerque talking about when we were going to film. We were going to start filming in 5 days. And one of the first days was going to be at this chapel. And then all of a sudden we look at the TV and the chapel's on TV. And, the sound is muted. And we're like, wow, that's our chapel. Look. And then we see the red band at the bottom about how Alec Baldwin had just shot 2 people on set. And we're like, oh crap.
Huh.
So that ranch was no longer accessible. They lost their insurance. I think they got it back since then, but then there was an investigation, and the investments all fell through. All the investors pulled out, and then people, because I was named as one of the producers, started coming after me. Like, I was named in lawsuits. for this film that failed, where the investors pulled out, and I was being stalked on social media. People were telling me I had no right to be in the business because of this movie failing,
Oh my
and that
gosh.
I should commit suicide. I mean, it was awful. It was terrible. And Rich Wolf, great friend that he is, was trying to talk me through it. He's like, Deb, it's common. People are crazy. Just like relax into it. And then he said, you know what? We need to make a movie. And I was like, really? Are you kidding? And he said, no, we need to make a movie. We need to make a movie now. What do you have that could be done for, this budget? And he's like, just a couple people in a room or a house, going through something crazy. And I said, oh, Rich, I've got the perfect thing. So I quickly put together the rest of the script. I sent it to him. He loved it, and we got started.
That is such a kind of like roller coaster of emotions it must have been to go from like, we're about to film, oh look, the chapel's on TV, like that's a sign, and like, oh wait, that's a very different sign, and then the aftermath just sounds horrible. Like
It
that's
was the craziest situation I've ever been in. And then, I mean, it kept going too. Like people were still like after me, after the other people that were on the film, that the failed film. And so I got so lucky to have Sapiosexual to focus on, because I knew, I was going to be directing, producing, I was a writer, I was starring in it. I was the one that ran to Costco to buy like craft service for everybody. I was picking up people from the train station.
oh my gosh.
And, normally that would be, oh, well, that's a little bit much. I knew that this was going to save me from all the crazy crap that was going on in my world. And it did. I mean, basically, like I couldn't focus on how insane life was behind the scenes, because I had to get this movie done. So Rich, I've told Rich Wolf this. I was like, you saved my life. You saved my life. And he's like, oh, Deb, no, that's a bit melodramatic. I'm like, no, it's actually true. Because like by the time I got done with principal photography, we'd won several of the lawsuits, and I was proven that I wasn't, the crazy psycho that these people were trying to paint me out to be.
Yeah.
And so it was wild. It was a wild situation.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, it must have been nice just to like dive into something else, especially kind of at that time when COVID could have hit, or I don't know if COVID would hit then. So maybe you just had a lot of free time. You would have just been focusing on things that would have just driven you mad. And so you're just having that ability, that, I don't know, outlet to dive in and really work hard was,
I mean, we shot this in April 22. Okay. So it was literally a year ago. Yeah. And, since then it was just full on editing, sound design, sound mix, music, Michelangelo Sosnowitz did all my amazing music, and it was really the best thing that could have possibly happened. Yeah.
That is awesome news. My next question was going to be like, how did you balance all the various hats you're wearing? But it sounds like you didn't balance. You just kind of like just lifted them all and just kind of carried the load. And didn't really...
Let's go, gang. It's party time. And like, I need to like prove to myself that I am worthy of being in the business.
Yeah. But so was it like, how is it to kind of cast the kind of, to get your cast for a film where, you're having a very kind of like intimate relationship with them? Like, how is that weird, or is it kind of freeing because you just really get to kind of like choose who you have the best chemistry with? Like, what was that like?
Well, the older gentleman, Nick Hardin, I'd already worked with on several things. We'd been friends for a long time. So with him, it was easy because, we're actors. So every time we see each other, it's like, oh, babe, hey, how you doing? And huggy. We'd never been naked together. He has a girlfriend, and the other guy, the younger guy, he's got a great girlfriend. I've been married. I had a horrible thing. My husband passed away 2 weeks ago. But
oh my God.
Yeah, it's awful.
But so
I don't want to talk about that right now.
Okay.
And that he'd been sick for a very long time. So that was another thing that was going on, that I was just trying to just, I immersed myself in creativity to just kind of shift my focus to creating rather than, I could have easily sunk into the deepest depression of my life at that time.
Yeah,
and even like
a series of times when you could have really sunk deep, and this film just kind of like buoyed you up throughout that.
Even, I mean, the fact that, when this horrible thing happened in our family a couple weeks ago, I knew I had all these interviews coming up, and I talked to a couple friends from the film world, and they just said, you gotta just keep going, because this is going to be the thing that saves you right now. And it has. I mean, just having to like focus on the interviews and everything every day, and I have to still keep promoting the film on social media and all that other stuff. Like, it's kept me from sinking into the abyss, because life goes on. Like, even in theater they say the show must go on. Well, it does, it has to. And that's how so many people have lost so many family members and friends and everything the last few years. So it's really critical that we just keep creating, because that's the affirmation of life, really.
Yeah, exactly. I'm glad that you've had this project to really kind of dig into and just devote everything to, because it sounds like there were a lot of very dark places you could have gone, but you're able to at least kind of have something else to keep your mind occupied.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So I guess, what is it like kind of when you're a director, but then you're also kind of the main character in this film? Like, do you kind of set the shot, cast, and then like go back and look, or do you have like someone, like, do you talk to your cinematographer and say like, here's what I'm thinking, and you kind of like go through it, and then you do the scene? Like, how do you kind of manage the kind of the directing role when you have some very kind of a deep role in this film?
Yeah, it was pretty easy. I mean, the guy that is my right hand is Stan Nakazono, and we met at a film festival in 1997 in Germany with a film that I had there and he had there, and we became buddies. And then every film that I started making on my own after 2002, he's been part of. So, he's the main guy that I had on camera. So he knew what I was looking for. Like, we went through everything prior. And I said, this is what I'm thinking for this. And, and then as we would set up shots, I'd say, okay, give me a screen grab. Let me see what that looks like. And then, I'd be able to like change it if I wanted to or whatever. And then just dive in. And we always had 2 and 3 camera setups, so that if we decided to do a little bit of improv, it would be covered. I encourage the actors always to just, if you feel something and you want to say it, go for it, because we're covered.
Yeah.
So we have the reactions already and we're good. Just go, just enjoy it, dive in.
Yeah, no, and I like that. Especially, I've talked to a lot of directors that kind of allow their actors to kind of just play with the roles, and oftentimes you get unexpected but very nice or natural reactions and things like that maybe deviate slightly from the script but kind of fit with the moment. So that sounds like a great way to do it.
Well, I mean, good actors know their character, they know the story, so they know where it's going. And a lot of times, they may come up with something that's organic to them as a human being, and as an actor, that fits with that character better than anything I could have ever written. So, I love to like unhook people from, the word on the page, and just let them realize, like, I've hired them because they're artists. And, people take a lot of pride in the fact that they are given that level of respect. And so they always rise to the occasion.
That's awesome. And how did like you specifically prepare for your role, or did you just not have time to prepare because you had so much to do? Because your character, maybe she has relations to kind of you in general, but she's also as a psychologist. So I don't know if you had maybe you've had a lot of therapy because you've been in Hollywood for a long time. Maybe that's just natural at this point.
No, I actually, I only saw a therapist for about a year, and I found it like really boring, because like I'd just be sitting there talking about myself. I'm like, well, this is really boring and stupid. I mean, and it's not really getting me anywhere. I have a friend who's a therapist, and I talk to her a lot to get ready for the role. It was mostly about the situations. Like, I was really, and to me, in anything, like acting is about the situations and what you're getting from the other person. And so, once we all just got into that zone, it was pretty easy. But also because I wrote the script, just by going through that, and then, different drafts that I would do, every time I do a pass, I think about that character and I think about what she's thinking. And, I know what's really going on behind the words, like the subtext and, the thoughts that get from one line to the next. It's all embedded in me because I wrote it. So, the writing process really helps. And it's funny because even like if I was on a film in October, a really good friend's film, Gabrielle Altobelli. It's called Art of Diversion. Really great, sexy thriller. I play a FBI agent who's a lesbian. And when I was, because there were 15 days, so there were tons and tons and tons of pages. I think I was
Oh,
in
wow.
like 80 of the pages. So what I would do is I would sit down, and they told me too, they said, if you want to rewrite any of the scenes, you're more than welcome to. So I would write out the scene on my computer as if I was the writer and think about exactly what was getting me from one thing to the next. And, that was the process that really helped a lot. And I mean, it's fascinating. I think that's also something I've always done, and I didn't even realize it until you've asked me that question. But I think about the writing, and I think about what a writer is wanting and what the thought process is behind everything. Because, think about the way we speak and the way we relate to each other. People are not really always saying what they're thinking.
Mhm.
There's thoughts behind what they're talking about. And then that fuels through their filter what they're actually going to reveal. And that's the thing that I find fascinating. And, that's how I approach every character.
I better move on because I think you're about to psychoanalyze me. And I don't know if I want to go to this place.
Oh, I know what you're thinking.
Oh my gosh. But no, that's I love kind of that thought process where like, you essentially either created or fleshed out these characters. So by doing that, you kind of understand, intuitively you understand them. And so that like allows you to then be that character and react, as you said, kind of like the way the situation would call for it, and kind of know what that person is thinking, without necessarily having to kind of like really sit down and prep for it, because you've already kind of done that by the process of
Yeah.
writing.
Yeah.
And you mentioned that this was filmed in August of 22. How long did you actually have to film it? I mean, this
April of
April
22.
22. Okay.
And we did it in 5 days.
Oh my
It was
gosh, that's an
20
insane
pages a
schedule.
day. 20 pages a day. It was crazy. And they were 10-hour days, because I don't like people to work more than 10 hours, because I've seen how people fade, especially if you're working really hard. After 10 hours of intense, drama or whatever, people just start to shut down, and it becomes, harder and harder to get what you need. So I would make sure we did everything we possibly could in those 10 hours. And then people would be sent home to sleep, eat, work out, do whatever they needed. And we come back and do it again. And it was fun. It was like we were doing a theater workshop, especially since so much of it was in the same location.
That's an insane. I mean, was that the plan, was 5 days, or was that just all the
No,
time that
our
you
plan
needed?
was 3 days.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's
Yeah,
insane.
but
You basically planned for a short when you were making an entire movie. That's insane.
well, but I knew the capability of the actors that I was with. So I knew, and with like 2 and 3 camera setups, it's easy to get through 5 pages in an hour of a scene and then reset, do whatever. I knew that everybody was capable of pulling it off. But we just needed the 5 because we had to do things in Manhattan, things in a park. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, especially if you give kind of the actors a little more creative freedom to explore the characters or explore the scene, that's going to take more time also, right? You're not just like strictly
Not
sticking to the
much
script.
so.
Oh, really?
Like the way, and it's funny because even recently, there's a movie that we're hoping to do in August or September this year. And it's 95 pages. And somebody suggested, okay, well, instead of like a 5-page scene, why don't you make it 3 pages? And I said, well, once we're set up and we've got 2 and 3 cameras going, who cares about 2 extra pages? That's 2 minutes. That's like nothing. Like, just shoot it, because we'll end up improvising that anyway. So you may as well just like have it in the script.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. So yeah, I mean, once you're in it, once you're in the scene and you're in the momentum of it, we're good. It's not that difficult.
Well, I'm glad it's not difficult for you. I imagine it'd be very difficult for me, but it does sound like if you kind of have the right crew, it just kind of flows, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, and our crew was small. Like I find that if it's a small crew, you're able to like everybody gets in sync. and you flow really well, and everybody is having their creative say, so they are more invested. If all of a sudden one of the camera guys says, okay, I know you like that shot, but what about this? It looks really cool from over here. I'm like, it's digital, to do it. Let's just try it. Who cares? Like, what are we going to do? Waste 5 minutes? It's nothing. Let's try it. And it gives everybody else this excitement. So it keeps things moving fast when people are excited about having their ideas fleshed out in real time. It's pretty cool.
No, that sounds like a great experience, and it sounds like kind of a fun overall shoot. It's kind of unfortunately, it was only 5 days. It feels like, you could have spent plenty of time doing this, and if you really wanted to, because it was fun.
Oh yeah, I mean, it would be great and I mean, I paid people well for the 5 days. I mean, but the budget would have to be higher for more days. But still, like, I like this way of working where, we get into the flow state and we're just in it, and it's being captured, and everybody else is in flow state. It's fun. It's really fun. It's exciting. And yeah, everybody always wants more time, more money, more whatever, more coffee.
That you can provide, probably. You can probably provide more coffee.
Yeah. The coffee's easy, but the rest of it's kind of negotiable. But it's just a really wonderful experience. It feels good.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like this was the project that you needed, and it kind of came together very well.
Yeah, really did. But it's only because of the team I had around me.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way, if any one of those people had been off or not invested the way they were, could have never happened.
That sounds like indie filmmaking. I talked to so many indie filmmakers who were just like, it was the team, like everyone kind of came together and took on multiple roles and kind of fit perfectly, and it just kind of like somehow worked. So
yeah, and I mean, it's a beautiful, magical thing, and I think that's the beauty of what we do. Working in film, TV, whatever, it's about the community. Like, people that are creative, it's not they're craving so much the creativity, it's like they're craving that live connection where they're exchanging creativity. That's the beauty, and that's where things really become magical.
Yeah, definitely. And now we have this film because of that.
Yes.
So I was curious, was there like another version of the film, or did you shoot the promo pictures after? Because I was looking at the images, and like in the promo pictures you are redhead, or your hair is red, but then in the film you're blonde, and I don't think you were a redhead in the film. So how did that work? I wasn't sure if there was like another version of this movie that was filmed, but it doesn't sound like it could be with 5 days of filming.
No, I also, like, because of all the stress I've been under, and I've lost 30 pounds since the film.
Oh my gosh.
So I have a really great photographer friend who actually used to shoot Penthouse in Australia back in the 70s.
Oh, wow.
But he's like Robert Butcher. He's this crazy, amazing photographer that, like, a good photographer knows how to paint with light. And I got in touch with him, and I said, we need to get poster shots for the film. And, I've got things that we have from when we shot. And he's like, no, darling, we have to reshoot. I'm going to get a studio in Williamsburg. We're going to shoot. And I was like, okay, cool. And Nick Hardin at the time was in rehearsals. That's why he's not in the pictures. But Dave was available. So he's like, come on, buddy, we got to go do this. You ready? And I bought him a G-string. And I was like, okay, let's take it off. Let's get working here. But yeah, it was a really good shoot. It was only 2 hours, but the photographer is amazing, so it took no time. And it's really, I think the shots turned out beautiful. They really did.
Yeah, no, they're very striking.
I just wish I could go back and reshoot the film looking better.
Well, I mean, it just takes 5 days, right? You just go back.
Yeah, we'll just reshoot the whole thing before midnight tonight.
Yeah, exactly. I was gonna ask what your secret was, because like in the film you look younger than you did in Kick-Ass, which was like 13 years before, and then now you look younger than you did in the film, but it sounds like stress was just your secret. So
yeah, stress is definitely the secret. And also in Kick-Ass, it was funny because I'm a Capricorn. Capricorns tend to like age backwards.
Okay.
Which is cool.
Yeah,
but
that's a great skill.
Yeah, in Kick-Ass, they wanted to, like, I mean, it was a British director, Matthew Vaughn, and the British have a different perspective on beauty and what's hot than what Americans do. So, him and Aaron Johnson saw the first outfit that they put me in. And I basically had my hair like this. I was in like a wrap dress.
Mhm.
And the two of them looked at me and they were like, no, you look way too hot. It's too obvious. No. And so they like put on like the little cross. So it was like, oh, great. This cross is going to burn on me in this
Yeah.
scene. And they like, made my hair look short and they put the big glasses on and everything. And I was like, okay, this is great. Like the first big role I get, I look like I'm 45 and I'm like not even close to 35 yet. So whatever. But yeah, it was funny. And I didn't want to see the film because I was scared to death to see how I looked. And I knew that I'd been like kind of
Yeah, you've been
planified.
cast or whatever. Yeah, I guess that's a good way to say it.
Yeah, or whatever. I don't know what the proper term is for it.
Yeah.
But
You've
yeah,
been
it was funny.
remade for the scene.
Yes, exactly. But it was really funny because then when an American director came in, he didn't even think to cast me as Mrs. Zane because he thought I looked like that woman. It was funny too. After Kick-Ass came out, I got all these offers to play like 50-year-old nurses. And I was like, what? What? Are you kidding me? Like, whatever. But, they were American casting directors, so I didn't really imagine that they'd be open-minded the way the British are. I love British people. I love Europeans in general, and things that are not American have a very different perspective than this world here that we live in. Very, very interesting.
Yeah, no, it's always fun to get that different perspective. And that's so interesting that you got kind of like typecast in the opposite direction from that break. That's
Yeah, it was crazy. Like, all of these American filmmakers and people thought I was, some like older, I don't even know what, I don't know what you want to call it.
But if you age backwards, like that is great. Like that is a fantastic skill to have because as your career progresses, you are getting younger. So
yeah, just get younger, healthier, like drink more water.
Perfect. That's the right trajectory.
Yep.
And I noticed this film had a lot of like Japanese references. I wasn't sure if that was like if you're interested in Japan or if that was kind of the original script, because there was like Miyazaki was referenced. There was like I think there was a Japanese like robe that someone wore at some point. There were a few things like that. So
yeah, well, and also my friend that is very involved in my films, Stan Nakazono, his parents are from Japan. So, he knows a lot. He's the one that came to our country house of me, my husband, the kids back in the early 2000s with his girlfriend, and they brought Spirited Away and introduced us to Miyazaki, and we just became obsessed. So like my kids, we've watched every Miyazaki film there is. And just in general, I've always been fascinated by, Japanese cinema and culture and everything like that. So yeah, I mean, I definitely wanted that to be part of the film because it's part of my life.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And if you're going to pick a Miyazaki film to start on, Spirited Away is a fantastic one. That's probably the best. I think it's probably the best.
But Princess Mononoke is pretty amazing too.
That was my first Miyazaki film, and that was a good start. But I think I like Spirited Away more just for the overall story. But
and here's my Zen cat. He has no eyes.
Oh no! Oh wow!
So whenever I'm on Zoom, he can sense like other things going on, and he went, "Yep, there you are, Jamie. You're on camera now."
A double interview. I'll have to put that in the. I'll have to put that on the title. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I know we have limited time. I'm gonna switch to, I call it the lightning round. They're just lightweight questions about the film. I want to see how your experiences map to things in the film. You can feel free not to answer any of them. I won't be offended, but I try to keep them very answerable. The first question is, in the film, your character acted as a muse. Do you have like a muse that you rely on for inspiration, or do you have something that you use to inspire yourself for your work?
Yes, I have 11 rescue dogs and 11 rescue cats and a turtle.
Wow.
And so when
you are filling out that like 45 middle-aged typecast very well.
Well, when I go when I'm walking, because also my dogs, they're all like Chihuahuas and Chihuahua mixes, and I very much take that time to do walking meditations, and so I consider my animals my muses, because all I have to do is look into their eyes or breathe the air, or be walking, and I start off a walk maybe with an idea in a script that I can't quite flesh out. And while I'm walking, it sorts itself out, and then I can just write it when I get back.
That's
So
awesome.
I consider my animals my muses.
That's perfect. Yeah, and that's like a forced time to center yourself and just kind of think,
Yeah.
which I don't think many people have these days.
Yeah. And even like my husband used to say that I was Snow White.
That's awesome. Again, like I don't know how you had time to do the work when you have so many kind of lives depending on you, but I guess that they do kind of help inspire you, so that must help with
They
that.
they feed my soul.
Yeah. Awesome. The second question is, this film involved a dinner party. When was the last dinner party that you had?
I've never had a dinner party in this house because of all the animals and the fact that my husband was sick for so long. But I've been to many dinner parties, and it's a fantasy too about like if I were to have a dinner party, what would go wrong?
With 11, or was that 22 animals, I think a lot would go wrong, as
Yes.
this is showcasing. But it'd be
Yes.
fun. It'd be a fun kind of chaos. So
Yeah, exactly.
when was the last time that you experienced a power outage?
Just a couple months ago, but it was only for a few minutes. I live, 12 miles from Manhattan. So power doesn't ever go down very long here.
Except for
Just
that one hurricane like 10 years ago where the entire
No,
thing
we didn't experience any power outage
Oh, wow.
whatsoever. Manhattan went black, but we were fine. Nothing
wow.
happened to us. And the craziest time that we ever had an actual power outage that lasted any amount of time was a transformer blew in the middle of the night. And it was crazy because like literally the sky was lit up this blue for 20 minutes while this thing was like electrical sparks were firing off. It was like some sort of portal had opened and like the neighborhood was getting sucked into it or something. I don't know, but our power was out for about 12 hours that time.
That sounds like a great start to another film, like some sort
I know,
of
right?
sci-fi or horror movie.
Yeah, totally.
So I think I know the answer to this, but what is your favorite Miyazaki film?
Princess Mononoke.
Okay, that's a good
Yeah.
So the film involves some writers who are finishing work or working on their work. What is the last thing you wrote, and I guess was it this film?
No, I'm working on a film that I had, Broken. I finished the script for Broken about a month ago, which I'm hoping to shoot. That's the one in August or September. But then I've got another one that I'm working on, which is based on the stuff that happened with my husband, but I stopped a couple weeks ago, and it's called Release. And it's a totally different perspective regarding long-term illness and that kind of thing.
Yeah, that sounds like a very personal story.
But with a dark twist, a very cool dark twist. Yeah, I don't ever make anything that's like standard fare. Yeah, I always have to add in, like, throw a couple extra little bits and pieces in.
Well, that also sometimes sounds like life, right? It's not fair, it's not standard. There's always something that could and often does go wrong. So
yep.
On a related note, is there anything that you have been working on that kind of has been, I don't know, your white whale or something like in the film? Liam's character has been working on a book for years. Is there something that you have been working on that you just have not been able to either finish or re-pick up?
Yes, it's horrible. It's horrible. It's like, oh, it gives me like quivers in my tailbone. The movie that failed in New Mexico, Trailblazers. Yeah, that film is like oh man, it's the film like haunts me. And I keep getting messages from people like, oh, whatever happened? Are we gonna go back to that? I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm so scared.
Yeah,
I'm so scared.
Yeah, that is a very kind of traumatizing experience. Have everything like right there and then have it all taken away out of your control.
Yeah, and
and the aftermath as well.
Yeah. Different people are asking for different things regarding it to see if we can get it started again. And it just, I'm excited about the possibility of one day being able to fulfill the vision. But, at the same time, I'm just a little scared. Like even my dogs are scared. Aren't you, Eddie? I know, it's okay. Eddie came here. This is Eddie.
Hi, Eddie. Excellent. All these guests.
Yeah. And he's like, no, I don't want to go back to New Mexico, please.
You didn't take your animals with you when you went to New Mexico,
I
did
took
you?
3 dogs to New
Oh, wow.
Mexico. I drove there, yeah, because I wasn't allowed to take 3 on a plane
Yeah, that makes
because I
sense.
wouldn't put them under a seat. So
That
yeah,
makes sense. So this film has a dinner party with a lot of drinking. What is your drink of choice?
red wine.
Uh, that's a good standard one. That's perfect. And I
Yep.
guess it made an appearance in the film, so you kind of wrote what you knew.
Well, but actually, that was Welch's grape juice,
Uh,
and also we used palm because pomegranate juice tastes really good,
mhm.
and I wanted something that wasn't your standard grape juice or something like that. And palm actually looks exactly like red wine. Exactly.
Movie magic right there.
Yeah.
And also, when budget is a concern, probably cheaper than red wine. Although it depends on the quality. Maybe you can get some really bad red wine for
Yeah.
cheap.
And also, I mean, you don't want to be drinking when you're trying to get through 20 pages in a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Trust me. No.
This film involved people reconnecting with very old high school flames. Have you ever reconnected with a flame? Maybe not romantically, but just maybe to see where they are in life or to catch up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. I mean, there are very few people that I haven't stayed in touch with because, I figured I've never been a person that dates. I like have a friend and then it evolves into something. So, it's very easy to just go back to the original friendship and be like, hey, what's going on? And, it's
Yeah,
all cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Very, very, very kind of modern, I guess, would be the way to phrase it.
I've never understood, like, even, with my husband, when he was sick, I was like, look, you really should reach out to like some of your old girlfriends and see how they're doing. Like, just talk to people, like, be part of the world, like,
Mhm.
and he said, well, but when we got married, I decided I'd never talk to them again. I said, well, but why? I mean, you were friends with them first. And I'm not that kind of person that, I'm not jealous.
Yeah.
People are people in a relationship. Once you've loved someone, you're not supposed to just stop loving them. Maybe you don't want to be with them, but you don't have to like cut off any kind of emotional connection. I don't see the purpose in that.
Yeah.
So
No, I like that viewpoint. I mean, it's just different people have different kind of ways that they interact with people, and it sounds like maybe your husband just wanted a clean break just for whatever reason. Maybe,
yeah,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah. Who knows what it was all really about?
yeah.
But
I guess, but you might write about it in the new film that you're writing. So who knows?
indeed,
And the
yes,
last question is, this film also involved hiring a photographer. When was the last time you hired a photographer? Maybe it was the promo shots for this movie.
exactly. It was. Yeah,
uh,
Robert Butcher. Yeah,
and a similar style too, like so a similar style photographs taken.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Awesome. So the film is out tomorrow, May 16th, 2023. You're out promoting it, getting the word out, trying to kind of get the buzz going. But after this film is out, after people see you in Sapiosexual, what can they look for next from you? I know you're hoping to film later this year, but is there anything else that you've got like coming out soon?
Yeah, my first film, A Gun for Jennifer, is out streaming. Like it's a older version of it though, like a not remastered one. But Vinegar Syndrome is putting out the Blu-ray for A Gun for Jennifer in July. And then also my series Crazy Town, the whole first season of 7 episodes, 30 minutes each. That's coming out, I believe, in July as well through Breaking Glass. And it's a crazy funny female perspective based on actual events that I had working in strip clubs in the 90s.
Oh wow. Well,
Yeah, it's really funny. It's really
yeah.
it's not like I've been so frustrated for so many years watching strip club scenes written by men, directed by men. Like, oh, it's so like typical and it's boring yawn. That's not reality at all.
Mhm.
So finally I just said, you know what? I'll just do it myself. So I did.
That's a great kind of, I love that, like grab it by can do attitude, just like I'll just do it myself, and then
Yeah.
you go and make a TV series. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah. And
But
and I hope it hits because I'm ready for season 2. I've got crazy things planned for it.
yeah, no, I hope you have crazy things planned for in Crazy Town. I'm curious. I'm curious to see like what the difference in perspective is. I imagine maybe it's less grungy, maybe more kind of like supportive, maybe more kind of like, I don't know,
Yeah, but it's got
fun.
it's got its stuff. It's got stuff. And it's fun too. A lot of the actors because I wanted it to feel crazy and funny. And so I'm very influenced by, when I was little, my mom used to watch Carol Burnett when I got home from school, like Carol Burnett reruns. So I love like, you know, the skit kind of scenario and that kind of thing, or Tracy Ullman, where she played all these different characters. So many of us, I think there's about 7 of us in Crazy Town who play multiple characters. And I went on Amazon and I just bought a ton of wigs, and like even men's wigs. And I'm like, okay, so now you're going to be Boris and put this wig on. And he's like, what? That's so fun. That's really good.
No, that's a perfect kind of like indie mentality for this. Just get it done.
Oh, but we had the best time. And I mean, even like I played a stripper from New Jersey named Mystery. And then also I'm also a lesbian bartender named Terry with black hair. So it's really funny. That's fun. It's great.
Yeah, it sounds kind of like what happened. I don't know if you've seen Quasi, the new Broken Lizard film, but each of them plays multiple characters in the film.
Cool.
Yeah, so it sounds similar to that.
Yeah, and the feel of this too, because it's got some darkness to it. I just got done binging all of Barry and I'm up to date with that now. And Crazy Town has a feel like Barry. Like,
nice.
You know, there's some things that are pretty serious, and there's some things that are like funny and ridiculous, and then dark humor. It has a very similar feel to Barry.
Well, I'm excited to check that out. And I think there is a band named Crazy Town. Does that band make an appearance in Crazy Town?
No, and I really like that song too.
Yeah.
Like their Butterfly.
Someone must strip to Butterfly, right? That's gotta be that could be part of season 2.
I did. It came out in like 99, didn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, I remember being on stage to that. Yeah.
There we go. Well,
but I didn't know it was Crazy Town at the time. So
that's something. Well, it was all like everything in life happens for a reason, and that kind of was part of your journey.
Yeah, and hopefully I get to meet those guys eventually.
Yeah, write it into season 2 and see what happens.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, so thanks so much for your time. This is Deborah Twiss, the writer, director, producer, and star of Sapiosexual, which comes to digital on May 16, 2023. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was Deborah Twiss, the writer, director, producer, and star of Sapiosexual, which comes to digital on May 16, 2023. It's a psychological indie thriller that looks into attraction and some of the harm that can come from that. If you like this interview, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.